I wasn't just a teen mom, but I was also living in a sewer and had to fight off rats that were trying to eat me. But let's back off a bit, and let me tell you the full story of how I ended up living in Mexico City's sewer system, even though I was only 15. I grew up middle class in Mexico City, and my life was rather boring until I had my first fashion photo shoot. There was this well-dressed guy who came up to me telling me I was cute. He even asked me out to a bar, but I told him I was only 15 and my dad would never allow me to go out at night because of all the gangs and drug cartels in our country. He ended up giving me his number anyway and walked off again. Then my manager came over saying, "Stay away from that guy. His dad is a high-ranking cartel member and he only comes to these fashion shoots to pick up pretty girls." Had I been smart, I would have listened to his advice, but I just couldn't get the guy out of my head. The fact that his dad was in a cartel only made him more exciting. I imagined us hiding from the police in expensive mansions and building our own drug cartel together. Oh, I loved fantasizing about being the wife of a drug cartel boss. So I met up with the guy. His name was Armando. I dated him for months, and it was just as I had imagined it. He drove me through the city in sports cars, and I knew I had to fear no one when I was next to him. Not even the police. Because the police is super corrupt in Mexico. For example, one time a drunk guy at a party made fun of my boyfriend Armando. But when his friends told him whose son Armando was, the guy jumped on his knees and begged him for mercy, crying and embarrassing himself. And I guess it worked, because Armando let him go again. That's why he had so much confidence. No one could touch him. But one day he picked me up at my home and my dad asked him who he was. Armando responded, "I'm your daughter's boyfriend." "Ha, not in a million years. I can tell what kind of guy you are." That's when Dad took me by my arm and dragged me back into the house. I saw Armando coming at my dad from behind, but I waved him off because I didn't want anyone to get hurt. I was in love though, so the next day after school, I ran away and started living with Armando. He was living in a big apartment and spent so much money on me that I was convinced he was serious about us. But one night, we and his friends went to a bar and I made a mistake. I got a bit drunk and told Armando that one of his friends looked super cute. He freaked out and told me that I should then go date that guy instead of him. I immediately apologized and said I'd only been joking. But afterward, it was never the same again between us. He came home less and less often and just didn't seem to love me anymore. I was so petrified of losing him that I made him impregnate me. I did it by lying to him and saying I was on the pill. I thought if we had a child, he'd fall back in love with me. I said, "I know things have been difficult between us lately, but look what I just found out." I showed him the pregnancy test, hoping he'd be happy about it, but he looked dead in the eyes. "Aren't you happy?" "This wasn't part of my plans." His reaction made me so nervous. Had he already been planning on leaving me? We went to bed, but I couldn't fall asleep. I was too worried. Then in the middle of the night, he stood up, took his phone, and left the room. I secretly followed him to the balcony and heard him say, "I need you to get rid of her. It will be an easy job. I'll just bring her to your home tomorrow morning." I ran back to the bedroom, petrified. I had to get out of here. So I stood up early, around 5 a.m., trying to escape. But Armando somehow noticed it and said, "Where are you going?" "Oh, just to the bathroom. I think the baby woke me up." "Okay, and by the way, I'll later visit a friend. You should come with us." "Oh, that sounds fantastic, but, it's my aunt's birthday today." "That's fine, no problem. We'll visit your aunt first, and afterward go to my friend." What the frick? This psycho really wanted me dead. I went to the bathroom and turned on the shower. I wanted to make Armando believe I was showering so I had enough time to escape. Then I left the bathroom and went to the front door. But right when I pushed on the handle, I heard Armando say, "Where are you going?" "What, me? I'm just going outside to get some exercise." "Without shoes? And why did you leave the shower on?" I had no excuses left and just ran outside to the elevator. Armando didn't follow me. I guess he was scared I'd scream and get the neighbors' attention. Instead, he just stared in my eyes while I waited for the elevator. It was so scary. Afterward, I immediately went back to my dad's house. I was crying when he opened the door. I felt so bad for running away, but he immediately took me in his arms, and I knew he still loved me. I told him that Armando's dad was a high-ranking member of a cartel, and that he wanted me dead now because I was carrying his baby. My dad responded, "Don't worry, I know a place where you can hide." He walked me to the street in front of our house, opened a manhole cover, and said, "Go in there before someone sees you. Quick, I'll bring you food later." I climbed to the bottom and the smell was so bad I started crying. It was wet, stinky, and dirty. I waited for 12 hours until my dad finally came down to bring me food. What took you so long? I hate this place.
You don't understand. Your lovely boyfriend Armando paid me a visit today. He and his buddies searched the whole house for you. It's best if you stay down here for a few months until things cool down.
A few months? Are you nuts? There isn't even a toilet down here.
That's why I brought you diapers.
My dad also brought me water canisters, food, a camping mat, and a walkie-talkie. It wasn't the life of my dreams, but at least I was safe. And it also gave me time to reflect on all the dumb decisions I'd made. Later that day, I called my dad, apologized for running away, and thanked him for letting me come back. He only responded,
"Don't worry, sweetie. I'll always be there for you."
Then I fell asleep. But after a few hours, I felt a tickling on my toe. Ah! A freaking rat! And it wanted to eat my foot. That was my life until 3 weeks later when my dad organized me a way to escape Mexico. I don't want to say where I live now because I'm still scared that Armando might find me someday, but recently I found work as a primary school teacher while raising my daughter. It's not an easy life, and I wish I had listened to my dad when he warned me about Armando, but I can't change the past.